hello. This is Louis Mihael.
And this is Gabrielle Christensen, your co-host.
And welcome to the podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Louis Mihael.
This is Gabrielle Christensen. Good to have you guys back. We took a little bit of a break in November, but we're back to full. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating and stuff on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast at. It helps us out. It really does.
I do want to apologize for us not being able to do the podcast last month. We just had so much going on.
Yeah, during the whole holiday thing, we were able to kind of squeeze this in and hopefully keep going forward. Actually, there's a few projects Michael's been working on that are pretty awesome, so.
Yep, which we do have a special announcement at the end of the podcast, so make sure to stick around till then. So a lot of the big announcements and releases in the tech world. So Microsoft, they had the Surface Duo on the phone, and didn't really get that good of reviews by reviewers and stuff. Yeah, it's everything's like 2 years old process on everything. The camera was kind of 2 years old, if not old on. A lot of like, especially YouTube, I was talking about some of the software bugs it had, and like every time they show these bugs and stuff or glitches and stuff, it was like, that's just some normal Android stuff. Like, I don't know what you all complaining about. Just find something to complain about, I guess. Like, Microsoft themselves even said that it was more of a proof of concept that could be made, and there is a market for this type of phone out there, and probably the second version will be a lot better.
It's kind of their prototype run.
Mm-hmm. But they did put out 2 other products since we last talked. The Surface Pro X with a new processor chip in it. Some a little bit more powerful, and about it on that one. It was just a little spec bump. But they did make the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go. They have the Surface Laptop that's like 13 inches and 15 inches. But this one is just a small little 12 inch, and it's meant for like, high school students or something that just needs a cheap laptop to do the homework on. And I think it starts at $500, but it's highly recommended to get the 700 one because that's 8 gigabytes RAM and an i5 core processor. So that's way more than enough that any student really needs. And I think it was a cool little laptop. And so if anyone asks me like, hey, I just want a simple laptop, I would suggest that. Some reviewers didn't like it because like I only had 720p webcam. I looked it up, and most all laptops all just have a 720 webcam, so even the high-end ones, so you can't really knock it out for that.
What were those reviewers wanting those high school kids to do on that 720p webcam? That they're like, oh, it's not good enough. Pedophiles.
There was no backlight keyboard, which my laptop has that, and I never used it. My laptop before had it. I never used it. To me, it's like, why are you trying to work on a laptop, use a laptop in the dark where you can't see the keyboard? I think that's about it. That's everything else seems to be great about it. Like I said, if you do the upgrade one, more than enough for any student out there.
Very cool. Have you heard anything on the classic Microsoft Xbox, the Sony? Because I've actually heard some bad reviews.
Pretty sure that's in the news.
Stay tuned
for
the news section. Or I guess we'd establish that audio would be in the news. We'll discuss the Microsoft Xbox versus...
Oh, five this time. Numbers are hard.
They are.
And then we got Apple. They put a whole bunch of stuff, and pretty much for me, even though I'm an Apple fanboy, it was hit and miss a lot of times. the iPad Air, which is pretty cool. They updated and now it's pretty much the iPad Pro 11-inch one. It just the iPad Air is 10.9 inches. Like if you put it side by side, and you really can't really tell the difference. It's just the bezel just slightly more, 10.9, 11 inch, and so which is really cool and stuff, and got the more modern look like how the iPad Pros are, and got the second gen Apple Pencil support, so pretty cool, and it is a lot cheaper than what the Pros are, and so anyone who was wanting to get a Pro but didn't have the money to get a Pro because it was like $1,000. This is like 600, somewhere around there.
Question for you, because I don't use tablet, iPads. What's the life expectancy? Like, what's their user demographic life expectancy of a Pro or a Pad? Do they expect you to use it only like a year, or are they gaming like 3 or 5 years?
Well, I mean, it's Apple. They want you to upgrade every year. But, I mean, every company is like that. Like my iPad Pro, that came out in 2015.
So they're
yes.
Their Pros and their Pads, and probably the same thing with your tablet, and those actually have a better life expectancy than your cell phone. So we're talking about price, but in Samsung and iPhones now, they're like, oh, this is our new one. It's only $1,300. It's like, oh, it's only going to last me maybe 2 or 3 years at best.
Well, with the phones, you do have a really good camera and stuff like that, where on most tablets, I mean, like the Pros, they have a pretty decent camera on the iPad Pros, but the iPad Pros are easily $1,000, and I think the iPad Air, this new one, I think they upgraded it. I think they did, and it's decent, but on the iPhones or the Samsung Galaxy phones, way better on what the iPads, even the iPad Pros, is way better than those. Plus, to really make it an awesome tablet, you gotta get the Apple Pencil, which is $130 or $150. You add that to it, then you gotta get at least the Apple Smart Keyboard. That's like $150 there, not $200. Or you could get the Apple Magic Keyboard, which is like $300, if not more. So once you start adding it, it does come out to be more than the iPhone.
I'm starting to see a dark future. Now that Apple has their, not a pen, I want to say pen, but they have their pencil.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like since Samsung has their stylus that comes with their Note, and Apple makes larger phones, they might get the idea that, hey, maybe we'll have that pencil for our phone, but instead of including it, let's charge another $100. And Samsung will sit over there and go, that's a great idea. We should do that with our new... Well,
they're gonna make fun of Apple for selling it separately. Then a year later, they're gonna do it themselves.
They will, although they'll still include it in the package. It's just they'll be like, it'll be another $50 added on there for the pen, stylus, low key, put it in.
Actually, a lot of these reviewers are saying that there's not gonna be any more Samsung Galaxy Note, because like I guess the Samsung Galaxy S, like 20S or whatever it's called, is actually better than the Note 20 Ultra, whatever it's called. The Note is always more the pro best Samsung Galaxy phone you could get, while the normal size or the S version always been just your regular Samsung.
I feel like they're trying to probably push that flip phone or the folding phone that they have.
Yeah, but that doesn't come with a pen.
It doesn't.
Yeah, which a lot of people say that was weird that they didn't do that. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's the dark future, that they'll be like, oh, here's your regular Galaxy S. It's fine for, phone calls and taking pictures. It's great. You can't play video games on it. I mean, you can, but the Note's better. But we don't do the Note anymore. So here's your flip foldable phone, which is cool.
Yeah, fold.
But here's your $80 pen that goes with your phone that you have to buy separately.
Yeah, but the Apple Pencil, like you said, the iPad Pro was the first one to have the Apple Pencil, and that's been out since 2015. Although it hasn't came to the iPhone yet, but they haven't gotten rid of the pen yet. The Samsung has not gotten rid of the pen yet. They still include it even in long tablets. which they made that this Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 Plus, which is dumb, iPad Pro, looked pretty nice, and that still came with the S Pen, I think they call it,
that's what
in
it
the
is in
package.
the note.
So, what else? The Apple Watch. I could care a little less about the Apple Watch. They did the Apple Watch 6 and the Apple Watch SE. It can track your sleeping and your heart rate or your blood oxygen too.
Do that.
What?
Track your sleeping, your blood. I guess it's different for your watch.
Well, a lot of those fitness ones do it, and that's what Apple's trying to get the Apple Watch to be more like a Fitbit kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I liked when I had the Apple Watch because it like easy integrated with my iPhone. But like the one I got now, it was like $100, where the Apple Watch was like 300 when I bought it, and it was a like an older version one because I already had like a second one out. I got the false one, and yeah, I don't care. I don't need to, record my sleeping or check my blood. I really care about. Kind of figured that would be a doctor's kind of job to do that, and I don't go to the doctor, so fuck 'em.
That's why you need it, though. You don't go to the doctor, so you're supposed to write all that stuff down and then go to Google and say, what does it mean when my blood oxygen level is at 70%? And Google will be like, it means you're healthy, or possibly you have this dystopian reality disease that's really hard to cure and is only found in one part of the world, which you are on the opposite side of,
Yep.
and make you that is actually.
Yep. What else? Apple did a whole bunch of stuff. The iPhones. And this was a mess for me. So the iPhone 12, there was the iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro, the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Yeah, it's a lot of iPhones. Yeah, they was really cool. They was great, but like the processor, and it had the A14 processor on Apple even said that this is the most powerful chip in a phone. And the only thing that comes close to it is the chip they made last year for the iPhone 11. And I do believe that. You look at any video out there on YouTube and stuff comparing it between like the Samsung Galaxy and then iPhone always usually outbeats it. But now the whole big rage right now with phones is 5G.
Yeah.
And to me, so Apple had a choice. They could put 5G in the phones, or they could put ProMotion, or what they call ProMotion, but it's 124 refresh rate or something like it. I can't remember the actual number. And so they decided to go 5G. Here's my problem with that though. 5G only works in the big cities like New York City, like Manhattan, LA, and Chicago, like
Maybe.
if that, and like YouTubers, you can go on YouTube and look at YouTubers will like go to Verizon because Verizon was the ones that been really like, oh well, we got the best 5G coverage. You can get 5G everywhere. They would go to Verizon, get a new iPhone, the iPhone 12, and like, okay, so where is 5G? And like there've been times where like they said that the cashier or whatever, the Verizon person they was talking to, like, oh well, if you go down this street, go 2 blocks down, then turn to your left, and go 4 blocks down that way, then turn right, then go 1 block down, there's a little fishing store, and there's 5G there. So like here we have no 5G at all.
No, I don't even think we have 4G, right?
Well, yeah, we have 4G and LTE, but
it took us a long time to get that, though. I recall.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like everyone else in the whole world, it took forever to get 4G and LTE. So it's not like everyone is benefiting from 5G, where the 154 whatever refresh rate will. Like I was listening to a podcast of Windows Central. They do all the stuff about Windows and Microsoft and stuff, and the guy does have the newest Samsung, the Samsung Note 20, and the newest iPhone 12. And he said that because the Samsung does have the refresh rate, the high refresh rate, it does seem fast on. You know, he himself thought it would be the iPhone 12 because it does have a better, chip in it. Like I said, and him being Windows, I mean that's saying something. That someone who's not an Apple fanboy says that the chip is better in the iPhone than the Samsung, and it's like it's just weird. Like just scrolling through the web, like websites and stuff, it will make it look better. Opening apps, like there's usually like an animation, like they like pop up open, it would look better. Playing games, it would make it look better. Watching movies, it would make it look better.
Really, the only point of having a more powerful chip at that point is being able to open more apps at the same time, correct?
Yeah, and
so
it just
close a few more apps on.
And it just, to me, Apple made the wrong choice. They should have went with they would call it Pro Motion because that's what they call it on the iPad Pro, because it does have it on there, and people talks about how great it is. Like yeah, when I go back to my old iPad, it's like it's so like outdated, looks so slow. It's like a lot of that because of the promotion, and the reason why the Apple Pencil is so great is because of that high refresh rate.
I would say it's probably their marketing is that they could say they're the first to have 5G, and then they'll come out with promotion.
I mean, the Samsung Galaxy 20 was way before iPhone 12 came out, and they had 5G and the high refresh rate. And Apple was like, oh, well, we couldn't do both because battery life. That would affect the battery life too much. Then how can Samsung do it? They didn't say anything about battery life. And
just our batteries don't explode anymore. It's fine.
And it's like, and plus Apple did put a smaller battery in the iPhone 12 and smaller than what the iPhone 11 was. So they at the same battery life, like you get 20 hours, or you actually don't get 20 hours, but that's what every company say.
Yeah, if you leave your phone just sitting, you don't do anything with it, it'll last 20.
But it's like, okay, that's another point. Like, okay, that's strike one with the 5G, fuck 5G. Strike two with the smaller battery, and like one thing, like a guy at work, his battery does drain pretty quickly, but because he had that USB-C is way better than USB, he can do the quick charging. So like he just go back to the shop, plug it in for like 10 minutes, bam, he's already gotten way up there and he can continue going.
Yeah, it does charge it pretty quick. What I think like 15% to about 40 or 50 to maybe a good half hour.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, that wouldn't have been so bad with the smaller battery if we could get quick charging. But Apple still refused to put USB-C, even though they was the ones who switched all the laptops to USB-C and said, this is the future. Well, Apple, it can't really be the future if you yourself is not doing it. And the iPad Pro has it, USB-C. All the products have USB-C, except for the iPhone. It's just stupid.
They're just cashing in because they know that they have the most popular product. The iPhone is definitely the most popular phone. So they just rely on that. They don't really care if it's better because to the average person, they just want the new iPhone.
Yeah.
They don't care about if it actually is a better phone.
They just want it.
Because it's Apple. And that's what they're betting on. That's going to be a problem.
Well, as the rumors is for next year, there won't be any ports on the iPhone. It would be all wirelessly charged.
See, I have Samsung. It was funny because the Galaxy, I think I had the S7, which was wirelessly charged. It actually did pretty good, but because it became more popular to do the wireless charging, I noticed I find it more of a pain with the Note that I have, Note 9. I mean, wirelessly charging's cool, but you just have your port and it's plugged into the wall. But then again, I have fast charging, and you don't get to I don't know, you don't seem to get a true fast charge putting it on.
On the wireless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also a problem if you have a case on your phone. That's what my problem was. If I have a case on my phone, it's really hard to get it to actually stay where it needs to be and charge.
Mm-hmm. Well, Apple has, on these new iPhone 12s, they kind of made their own little, it's just like how the Apple Watches had their own charger where magnetically clips onto the back of the phone, and even have special cases for it so that it would snap onto it. Speaking of chargers, they did remove the charger block, and they kept the cord, but the cord is lightning from USB-C. So all those power blocks that you have laying around your house that was lightning to USB and not going to work on that cord you got with your new iPhone, because like I said, it's lightning to USB-C. Yes, and Apple did charge $150 for the regular phones, the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12. I mean, the Pros stay the same, but yeah, bullshit.
Yes.
But Apple did make some new laptops in the Mac Mini with their own chip in it called the M1. And yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about that next time when I finally get my new Mac with the Apple chip in it, the M1 chip.
Look forward to hearing how amazing or how horrible.
No, it won't be horrible. It's already been proven that it's way better.
So today for the main topic, we're going to be discussing a series review on The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. In a surprising move, although not so surprising considering the company itself, Netflix has canceled the eye-popping, wondrous, sometimes violent, but full of delight, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. After 37 years of a cult following from the original film directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz, Netflix brought back the world of Thar and all of its bewitching and immersive high fantasy settings. However, releasing only one season, the video streaming company decided to cancel the series. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is a prequel perfectly expanding and improving upon the story of the original 1982 film. Executive producer Jeffrey Adis, Will Matthew, and Jafar Grillo Marzocchi developed an engaging, exciting, and sometimes slow-paced story in this dark fantasy series. Inspiration for the story was from the Dark Crystal research text, short stories, and young adult prequel novels. In this imaginative story, 7 distinct clans of small elf-like creatures called Gelflings live peacefully among the clans, while being ruled by the keepers of the Crystal of Truth. In this imaginative story, 7 distinct clans of small elf-like creatures called Gelflings live peacefully among the clans, while being ruled by the keepers of the Crystal of Truth, the Skeksis. The Crystal of Truth is the beating heart of the magical world of Thar. Uncovering the sinister truth behind the vulture-like Skeksis lies, a few young Gelflings must try to unite the 7 clans to rise up against the evil manipulative lords of the Crystal. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, before it was canceled by Netflix, was a mind-blowing and truly stunning achievement in artistic craftsmanship. Almost 100 practical sets, which are painstakingly detailed to mimic illuminating caves, dark dungeons, lush forests, and huge spacious throne rooms, were created for the series. With each of these sets filled with such detail, it lured the viewer to want to stay and explore to see what other mysterious discoveries could be made.
Yeah, like I said in the last podcast, I just don't understand why they cancel it and after just one season and just kind of left it in a cliffhanger ending kind of thing.
It is strange that they canceled it. I was doing some research on why Netflix cancels shows so quick, because they've really been canceling even some shows that have lasted like 3 seasons. Dark Tales of Chilling Adventures with Sabrina. The interview I was reading said that, granted I can't remember the source now, that Netflix, the way that they do their ratings is that they expect a continuous increase of viewership. So they want a series to continue to grow in their viewership. So you could have the same fan base continuously watching the show, but that doesn't matter to Netflix. They want to see growth.
Well, you say that, but the thing is, they actually canceled another show that just only had one season, and this literally just came out. Like this show came out like I haven't got a chance to even watch it yet because I was watching another show, and it just was just a few months ago or so. So if not that, so like it can't really grow and viewership if they don't even give it time to grow.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're saying like I think there was like 10 episodes in the Dark Crystal, and it's like an hour long. If it's like okay, we had this many people viewing the false episode, this many people, but that's how TV shows do it. And Netflix said themselves that they don't rate those shows like a TV show, like a typical cable or satellite TV show, like on Fox or something.
Right.
So like to me, they had no real excuse really. They just, to me, it just whoever's in charge, they pick and choose what they want. I don't care about puppets, so fuck them. It's like I'm not really interested in that one show I was just mentioning. Away, it's about a group of people, astronauts going to Mars. It's like, oh, I don't care for sci-fi. Cancel, you know. And then it just, yeah. And funny enough, of course, there's some woman in charge of all of that. I think it just hung really just picking and choosing shows that she like or what she thinks that would be popular, and not really.
Although, what's an original series that has lasted on Netflix past like Breaking Bad? Because even Orange is the New Black, they canceled that before it was done.
Yeah, I think that was the only longest series they had, because I think they went out pretty long.
Yeah, the House of Cards did. They actually finished that one. I think after that, I can't really think of an original Netflix show that they've allowed to go on. Like Beastars is getting their second to come out soon, but that's not necessarily Netflix bought the rights to it, but that doesn't mean that they're renewing it and actually producing it. So they call it original series because they're the primary streaming broker.
Yeah, the primary distributor.
Yeah, but
Right.
they don't actually have creative control in that regards as to whether or not the anime continues on. So
Yeah.
I guess She-Ra, they actually let She-Ra run it. That would have been one.
That would have been just one or two seasons too.
Yeah, I think it was
Was it? I didn't think it was that.
short seasons.
But yeah, actually, Disney actually owns the Jim Henson Company, which is owned by what's owned the Dark Crystal properties. So hopefully Disney Plus will pick it up and make their own series and put it on there. I mean, they made the Muppets a new series for the Muppets and stuff for Disney Plus. They're already making Jim Henson Company's properties, so really hope they do it. And watching like the Mandalorian and like the Right Stuff. It's a new show that is a little bit more for grown-ups and have a little bit more dark or mature themes to it. So the Dark Crystal would easily fit into Disney Plus.
Yeah. Oh, why is Disney's part in it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one problem with not Disney, with Netflix is what they having is they are just getting putting out too many TV shows and too many movies that, like you was talking about that one anime that they are only the ones that distribute it. And see, when a company does that, like, oh well, if you just let us put it on our platform, we would give you blah blah blah. Like, let's say it took them $5 million to create that series, the season 1 of that series or whatever. They would give Netflix would give $5 million, if not more, to them to allow them to put it on the platform. So I mean, if you're paying all this money for all these different TV shows and movies to be put on there, and of course it's way more than $5 million.
Right.
I mean, I think a low budget film is or a TV show is way more than that. But so probably more like $100 million. So they paying $100 million, and let's say they put, 20, like 10 movies, 10 TV shows. That's 200, right? That'd be 200.
If it was 10.
Okay, there you go. They spending $1 billion on all these movies and TV show, and it's like, why don't you just cut down, and just make these few original movies and TV show and make them great. Just focus on Stranger Things and The Witch On and whatever movie. Just focus on those, make those great, and there you go. So putting out just a bunch of crap, because most of these movies and TV shows are a bunch of crap.
Actually, I just thought about it. I know The Witcher had some merchandise, but I'm not sure if that's coming from the video game series and all the other stuff. Because usually, what a TV show and distributors look for is all the merchandise that comes out of the show itself. So, like The Mandalorian, merchandise is everywhere. Everywhere. Yeah. Even cosmetic places are like, oh, this is a color palette based off The Mandalorian.
And this is a t-shirt based off of Mandalorian. It's like a gray t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe have like a stripe, like a brown stripe, because his arm is silver gray, and he got the brown like chest plate, so he got the brown stripe. So it's like Mandalorian. I'm like, hey, what?
Yeah,
if you didn't say The Mandalorian, I wouldn't know that was the Mandalorian.
But it's like Castlevania. I haven't seen merchandise for Castlevania.
Well, yeah, but like, how many anime stuff around here do you see though?
Well, if I go on Hot Topic, want to do, like I see stuff for Supernatural all over Hot Topic, or Studio Ghibli, or My Hero Academia. There's just Hot Topic is flooded with all kinds of anime merchandise. So you would think Castlevania would be right up their alley because it's anime and it's gothic aesthetic. So
yeah.
I haven't necessarily looked for any, but like I said, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you're saying like if you went to the mall and went to Hot Topic, you see all those right there in front, but you don't see Castlevania.
Their little newsletter they send out, they're like, oh, we have these brands, Demon Slayer, which Demon Slayer, it's relatively new. It got really popular, but Castlevania was popular, so I'm just thinking they're not merchandising things like they could have been. I think they did Stranger Things pretty well, merchandising and stuff. But it's just they get these shows. She-Ra, they didn't really do a lot of merchandise for She-Ra. They're really missing that step where they go, okay, we have a widely popular show. They don't actually put their label on it and merchandise it. At least not that I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything from Netflix other than Stranger Things, and
I want to say I haven't watched anything on Amazon Prime like their original stuff, but The Boys, I think I've seen stuff for The Boys advertised on Hot Topic and stuff like that.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying. Like I just feel like Netflix just doesn't know what they're really doing, and like, oh well, we doing it different, but you're not doing anything though. That's how I feel about it. It's like, why did Kathleen Kennedy advocate become president of Lucasfilm when she doesn't know anything about it? Once again, you don't give a woman, a leadership in these movie industry, because so far they're failing. Thanks, Kathleen Kennedy, on behalf of all women out there. And now can't get these jobs anymore because people don't want to hire them.
True.
All because of Hong.
If I say I like Star Wars, they're like, oh, prove it. I'm like, Darth Maul's hot. Then that's all they hear, and they're like, never mind. You saw it because of Star Wars Legos, didn't you?
Yeah, you just watched Star Wars Rebels, and that was it.
No, you watched Star Wars Rebels? Not even a rebel can watch it because Disney was like, oh, we're going to put that on Spike. Or like, what was their channel, their special channel? Because they didn't even have it on Disney Channel when they bought the rights to Star Wars. They're like, we're going to throw this on our Disney XE or something like that.
XD, yeah.
XD. They're like, we're going to throw this on Disney XD, and you have to pay, such and such was their satellite subscription to get it, instead of just, putting it on their regular channel. We're going to go on to our review of The Mandalorian, Season 2. The gunslinger is back. As he rides into Mos Pelgo, and the perfect homage to westerns like Deadwood, kicking off season 2 with a bang in the first episode, The Marshal. Rather than starting where we left off, with Moff Gideon revealing to be alive and wielding a dark saber, director Jon Favreau decided to give us another side story, taking us on an amazing adventure to Star Wars' most famous planet, Tatooine. During the beginning of the premiere, Mando is set on a quest to reunite the child, aka Baby Yoda, with his own species. Through his searching, our hero learned there is another Mandalorian in Tatooine who might be able to help him. Arriving in Mos Pelgo, Mando meets the Marshal Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Olyphant from Deadwood. He wears the Mandalorian armor of the infamous bounty hunter, Boba Fett. Although the season's premiere is somewhat of a rehash of 2 episodes from Season 1, Season 2, Episode 2, The Passenger does give Mando some more character development. Still needing information on the location of other Mandalorians, the gunslinger agrees to give a frog-like alien mother and her offspring safe passage to be reunited with her husband. After the ship crashes, Mando gives up on his mission. However, the mother reminds him of honoring the Mandalorian code. Our hero agrees to honor their deal to teach a lesson to the child. Bryce Dallas Howard returns to directing with episode 3, The Heiress. This episode is full of action-packed adventure and appearance from the Clone Wars and Rebels fan-favorite character, Bo-Katan, played by the original voice actress, Katie Sackhoff. In her first directed episode in Season 1, the episode itself felt kind of out of place with the rest of the episodes because of its lighthearted tone. However, The Heiress felt more polished and right in place, making it one of the best episodes in the series. Arriving at the midway point in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, it's time to break the usual plot structure. Unfortunately, most of Episode 4, The Siege, does follow the usual plot structure. We do get much needed character development and story progression in the episode's ending. Badly damaged, Mando's ship is in need of repairs. He seeks out the help of fan favorites Cara Dune and Greef Karga, played by Carl Weathers, who also directs the episode. Mando decides to help Cara and Greef with destroying an old Imperial base. Quickly to discover this abandoned base is indeed still in operation. Laboratories filled with Dark Trooper clone bodies and a hologram recording from Dr. Perishing, revealing the sinister plan of Moff Gideon. The second season continues the show's impressive ability to go in depth with Star Wars nostalgia, like creatures and aliens showing up that were only in the backgrounds of the original trilogy. And also having Jeepers Creepers in that first episode.
Yeah.
As a bartender.
Who also is an actor from Deadwood as well. It was pretty cool. So that's why I said it was a homage to westerns like Deadwood. But yeah, like it was a nice episode, the first one. You know, it, like you said, it was like what we thought Mandalorian was going to be. Kind of like this space western. Mando comes in riding a speed on, just like, you know, John Wayne comes in riding a horse, or Clint Eastwood in the town and saves the day or something. You know, they even have that bar scene.
Yep.
And yeah.
With Jeepers Creepers there serving alcohol.
And what's funny about that too is, like, in that episode, he's like, oh, those Sands people, those are monsters. It's like, have you seen yourself in the mirror?
It's like, what do you do every 20 years, friend?
But yeah, then we get to like episode 2, The Passenger, and yeah, there's not much to say about that one. It was, again, there wasn't much plot to it.
It was, I mean, unless they're going with my theory, which is the long game, that the child is going to end up being a force of incomprehensible evil because it kept eating the babies. Like, it would have been fine if it would have ate like one, or they could have thrown it away later with like the mom eating some of the babies too, like when they were stranded in the next episode on the ice planet. She could have been like, oh, we're hungry, we'll eat just a couple, it's fine, they're not all gonna survive. But no, they were a rare dying species, last of her bloodline, her last chance to have any children, and he just kept eating them.
Yeah,
and then he ate the spider baby too, which we don't care about the spider baby, except when you watch Rebels, you find out later that those spider monsters are actually nice if you don't act like you're afraid. So he just likes to eat babies, the child does.
Yeah, in this fall season, he ate a frog, I don't know. I guess it's just because he doesn't know any about him. I don't. I thought that was kind of a weird thing. Like I think the writers and stuff, the creators thought it was kind of funny and cute and stuff. But I think it was one of those innocent mishaps, like innocent mistakes. Like
I
I was
think
like,
it,
okay, well, maybe it wasn't.
like I
Like,
said,
like,
sorry.
oh, I thought it was funny, but everyone else didn't think it was funny.
Well, like I said, they could have saved it by either having like the Mandalorian coming in and getting it out of his mouth and being like, "No, they're babies," and then figuring it out, or figuring it out because it was even after the mom had her, which I guess we're getting into episode 3, but after they crash and the mom has that heart to heart moment where she makes her big speech about how those are her babies and they're going to die and she has to save them. And the babies, the child's sitting there watching her do all this, and you can see he's emoting because his ears are going and his eyes are kind of, closing. Like he's comprehending. She loves those things. He still eats them.
I don't think he understands really what they saying.
They're actually babies and stuff.
Yeah, because I'm like at the end of what it was episode 3 that he was watching one of them hatch, and I think that's when he understood. But yeah, I think he was just a little baby, doesn't know any better. But
Or he's really a part of the dark side and going to end up being the most evil dark side user. It's going to even go beyond being just a Sith because he's just going to create his own code and creed, and the next trilogy in Star Wars that they're never going to do again, but they're going to do again, is going to revolve around this small child being the next Dark Master.
and then Rey just comes out and kills him.
With Ben Solo.
Ben Solo's dead.
He can still kill him. He'll be fine.
No, because then that would mean that Rey hadn't needed the help of a man, but because she's a woman, she don't need no man. Because we gotta do that feminist stuff.
They can just make Ben Solo a woman.
But yeah, the only thing about the character development was that the reason why Mando ended up, honoring the deal is to lead by example to the child, to Baby Yoda, and just show him that you always had to
honor your word.
Yeah, honor your word and don't give up. So episode 3 is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and she directed I think at least two in the second season, and the first one that she did in this fall season, it kind of was very lighthearted and stuff, and just didn't felt like with the other ones. And I think it was one of the weak on episodes. But then again, if you look at the behind the scenes, which the one episode that Kathleen Kennedy was there was that episode.
So in other words, again, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for ruining all women. Because poor Bryce Dallas Howard's just like, yeah, this is my standout episode. I'm going to show him how great I am. No.
Well, this one, like I said, I actually really enjoyed it. Not just because we got to see the famous character on Bo-Katan, but I think directing-wise, she did a lot better, and there was a lot of action in it. It felt like it was still, the tone of it was still with the rest of Mandalorian, and it was a lot more polished and more. It just was a lot better, and I find it funny that all these SJWs and feminists are like, oh well, we need more female directors. Here you go. She did a great episode. I even said that it was one of the best episodes in the series. Nothing from the SJWs.
Well, no, because she did a good job at a project that's done by men, so they're not going to want to give her any praise because they're going to be like, oh, well, that's just proving that you bow to the male overarchy. Well, speaking of bowing to the male overarchy, Kate Sackhoff, it's amazing. I didn't realize that was a voice actor, but that's amazing to me that not only was she the voice actor of Bo-Katan, but she also looks a lot like her. I don't remember in the Clone Wars behind the scenes them saying that they actually modeled Bo-Katan off of her.
Well, that's just an animators kind of thing. Disney does it all the time, where they would, when they recording the voices, Disney will take a video of them and then so that the animators can go back and look at typically just the phase and see how they react and stuff. And like I know like there was a famous thing with the Alice in Wonderland that the actor who did the Mad Hatter, they actually had them all in costume, and there was a table, a tea set, and everything. All the actors are there. They actually used the audio from that footage because he was so much funny on from the footage, and they end up using that in the movie. Cool. But yeah, that's just a animators thing. If you one thing I always find funny because I always see people posting this on like Facebook, and it's like a meme of Frozen and the snowman Olaf, and then they was like, oh, it's so cool that Josh Gad, who voiced Olaf the snowman, that Josh Gad improvised his lines. And it's like, well, actually Robin Williams did too, and so many other actors before. And I was just telling you about the Mad Hatter. He did that too. That's why comedians are actually quite good for voice acting.
Makes sense. I did like the tension in that episode where Bo-Katan's trying to convince the Mandalorian. They all take their helmets off, and he didn't look betrayed because you can't see his face, but you could tell.
Yeah, he did not like that.
He was just like, why? And she's like, you're a child to watch. He's like, what? I thought, going off the point of lighthearted episodes that felt kind of out of place, I like comedy. I'm usually around for most, but episode 4 was weird. The comedy in that was weird.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was because Carl Weathers being a much older actor and stuff. I think he is more an older style of Hollywood. Because that's what I felt too. Like it was good, but it was like an older style, which this is supposed to be more like the original trilogy. So.
It was just that one side character who I don't recall the name of.
Yeah.
That blue guy. Some of his lines were funny, like his first introduction of him, but the rest of the time, I'm like, you guys just want to kick him into the reactor?
Yeah, and that's how it was in the very first episode of season 1. He was there. That's how him and Mando knew each other. But that, like, this is why I keep saying about the Mandalorian, and what the problem with it is that they keep hiring. I don't know if the guy who plays the blue guy, if is a comedian or not, but it just seemed like so many of the actors in this and actresses in this show are comedians or like comedy actors. Actually, it is a difference between that. Like they cannot not tell a joke. So every time when they, are acting, they're trying to tell a joke. Because they comedians, that's what they do. They supposed to be funny, but to me, it just, Jon Favreau just needs to stop, hiring his buddies and stuff, and Dave Filoni, being animation. Usually had a lot of funny stuff to it. So, and like I say, Disney hired a lot of comedians for the voice acting. So it's like maybe need not do that on this show.
Or at least cut out a lot of those parts or direct them better when they start doing that and be like, let's just tone it down a little bit. Play it a little more straight.
It's like that one episode that Dave Filoni corrected in season 1. I think it was called The Heist. And it was really cool episode. Like, Mando meets up with his own crew and a bunch of these con artists and bounty hunters and thieves and stuff. And so they go on this heist to get on a Imperial ship and stuff, and it was like almost everyone in that group, all comedians and stuff, and it was action packed and everything, and it was really cool. That's when Dave Filoni acted in it too as rebel pilot Crappa Wolf. That's his name, and like it was a really cool episode, but like so many of the dialogue was just so off because it just seemed like they, as comedians, it's like, it's not a sitcom, and this,
Comedians in a room full of comedians trying to one-up each other with one-liners.
Mm-hmm. Even though the robot was voiced by a comedian. It's like, come on.
Well, thankfully, the next episode, although I still have, going off of my earlier point with the child potentially being a Dark Master Sith Lord when they finally go to next planet that has that monarch lady there, magistrate, show up there. And Ahsoka's like, no, I've seen that Goguru, because she really wanted to call him Goku, she couldn't. Goguru has been through such hard things, such dark things. His thoughts are full of dark thoughts. I just think he purposely eats babies.
I don't remember really saying that.
Yeah, when he was full of fear, at least.
Yeah, he was full of fear.
So my brain says that means he's full of dark, hateful thoughts and eats babies on purpose.
I don't say it like that, but I mean, I guess like he witnessed like Anakin from Revenge of the Sith slaughtering all the younglings, and somehow he escaped. And if I would witness all my fellow Jedi being slaughtered like that, I'd be afraid too.
Especially,
I think so.
Master Anakin, the temple's under attack. What should we do?
But yeah, that's episode 5, The Jedi. So we get the live action debut of Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, to me, the first half of the episode, the whole episode was good. People online were freaking out about Ahsoka, so I keyed in on that and really paid attention to it. To me, her in the first half, when she wasn't necessarily fighting against anyone else, she did have that cool scene with the Mandalorian where she fought against him and she was able to do the flip and get away from him and all this stuff. That looked fine. It was just her confrontation with the magistrate at the end that I thought was pretty lackluster. But I thought it was her fight with the magistrate that, I don't know if maybe that actress in particular was short on retakes, because I also noticed at the very end of the episode, the Mandalorian and the child were flying away, and her hair, or whatever that would be on Ahsoka's alien, because I'm not exactly sure, it's not like human hair, but that prosthetic was cracked.
What I thought it was just because she is older. Like, I think I heard that she was supposed to be like 50 years old in this, so I thought it was just wrinkles.
Maybe. I only noticed it though at that very last shot.
Yeah, it's in throughout.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, throughout the episode. You mentioned that you didn't think that they had much like time to do double takes or rehearse or whatever. And I actually think that was my problem with it, is that it didn't seem like she, Dawson, the actress, really prepared for this role. I mean, she looked the part. She looked exactly what I would expect what Ahsoka would look like in real life. And I don't care that her hairpiece was long, because in Rebels it was way long. But I guess because when they was doing the fight scenes and stuff, it was getting in the way too much, and so I had to trim it down. But that's not what I'm talking about or care about. It just like I just didn't feel like she did Ahsoka like mannerisms and stuff. Right?
No, not at all.
Like, I mean, there was times I felt like it, like she nailed it, but then like majority of the episode I just didn't feel like.
Her first scene, like that introduction scene of her, that seemed very Ahsoka, and that also seemed the most polished of her in there. And then the first time where she has that little fight scene with the Mandalorian and he shows up and she immediately tries to kill him, didn't necessarily seem like Ahsoka, or immediately goes to fight him. Might be a little Ahsoka, I could let that pass, but it's just after that it seemed kind of like they had one shot to get a good take, not a lot.
Yeah, and some of the dialogues with Hall and the magistrate just seems like they just read the script real quick, alright, and then they went and shot it. And okay, come on guys, this is a big budget production. It's Disney.
So you noticed it with the magistrate too, or just in their communication? Because I thought the magistrate was pretty right on for her character.
I've seen them both. But yeah, and like talk about the fight scenes like that. Like I went back and watched it again a couple of times, and maybe the first time I was too harsh on the episode altogether. But like the fight scene, especially at the end, to me it just was not good. And being that the actress who did the magistrate, the bad guy, is a martial artist, to me, I think we should have gotten much more. And I know that Dave Filoni was doing a lot of samurai film stuff. Like you can see a lot of homage to Akira.
Like the Seven Swordsmen, which goes back to that seven.
Samurai.
Yeah, Seven Samurai, and then they did the Western version of that a while back ago, spaghetti Western version. Then they remade that again. But
I thought it was pretty cool that because Star Wars was influenced both by westerns and samurai films, and so having Ahsoka representing the samurai part and Mando as the western, that was pretty cool. But to me, the fight scenes could have been a lot better. Like when she was running around just taking out some of those soldiers and here and there, like that wasn't bad at all. There was a few times I thought like, okay, they could have done better on this, but like I said, Dawson, like, yeah, she'd been in action films before, but she never really done action herself. So like she has no martial art training, she has no stunts, never done stunts and stuff, and so really, to me it's like one of those things like, okay, yeah, she may look like Ahsoka, but really the best choice.
It really showed, at least they could have maybe changed the script to fit that fight scene at the end, because you could tell it cut away from that fight scene a lot.
Yeah.
While they were fighting. I mean, it lets that cool moment with the gunslinger, Mando being like, well, we'll see which one wins.
That gunslinger,
yeah,
that is actually the Terminator from Judgment Day.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
We had Jeepers Creepers, now we have the Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it led to that cool little moment of dialogue, but you can kind of tell that they were cutting away too often. Like, it should have been a whole devoted block of just Ahsoka and the magistrate going at it for a long time. They could have even had, I don't know, Ahsoka could have used the Force on her. I'm not actually sure why she didn't. I mean, do remind me, are the Jedi not allowed to use the Force on civilians?
Well, she's not a Jedi.
Yeah, so why should it matter?
I don't know.
Because if that would be a way around it, if your actress can't fight against your martial artist, have your martial artist have a cool fight with the Mandalorian, and then have Ahsoka show up to rescue him or have to use the Force against her.
Or they could have just get a stunt double for Ahsoka and
not record her face doing the angry Ahsoka face.
Yeah, I mean, look at Count Dooku. That Christopher Lee was like an 80-year-old man, even back then, had a stunt double. Like, yeah, in the close-up, like, I see great fear in you, Skywalker, or great anger in you and stuff. Like, yeah, that was Christopher Lee, but he's fighting with it's a stunt double, and that was, 15 years ago? So there's no excuse that they couldn't, get someone to kind of at least look like, Han and
especially with all the makeup.
Yeah.
Well, especially with, Ahsoka has kind of this is fresh from the Rebels episode where she fights Darth Vader. She kind of has a wild fighting style anyway. It's not necessarily too polished. It seems like sometimes she can go for some wild moves like jumping straight on somebody and stuff like that. So that would seem more apt for a actor to be able to replicate versus, complicated moves. Like you said, you could do the combo of having a stunt double there, and then when you need to get those close-ups.
Yeah, and dialogue scenes and stuff.
But again, it just seems like they didn't have a lot of her time. So it was like maybe a 3-day shoot, and then she was gone, and they just...
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I'm saying. Like, yeah, she may look like Ahsoka even without the makeup, and probably the best looking one, but everything else, I just didn't think she was that good. I do think that, unfortunately, in the season 1, Dave Filoni's episodes that he directed 2, because I think each director at least directed 2 of them, his was actually the weakest ones. It still was great, but they was the weakest one. And this one, I think he did 1,000 times better than what he did in season 1.
Yeah, there wasn't any comedy in it.
Yeah, and so like I really liked the like how everything looked in the episode. It had kind of like that steampunk, like all the soldiers had that kind of steampunk or diesel punk, kind of looked like one of those World War II gas mask death troopers, what the Nazis called them and
Yeah.
stuff. And
They
I
had the
thought,
nice, good effect of fog.
yeah, and like Soka, like being there, and the cinematography was great. Like I say, he was influenced by the samurai films, and like she's just there at the end and with this lightsaber. It looked really awesome. Like the music was great. Like everything was great about this. It just Ahsoka herself. That was gonna be the big thing. I think it wasn't as good as what it could have been.
And that's the problem too. It was going to be the big thing. It wasn't just if this actress had showed up as an unnamed character and was like a rogue force user who was in this town fighting, and she happened to know maybe where like Ahsoka was, she wouldn't be getting the hate she was getting. I mean, maybe a little if they had her do a major fight scene, but it's just she didn't get the mannerisms of Ahsoka right.
Well, I don't think everyone hates it though. I feel like I'm one of the only people. It's like I was telling a coworker, like I remember reading on an article about Star Wars, and someone commented on it and saying like the biggest regret I have about being a Star Wars fan is being a Star Wars fan. It's just like everywhere else I look, everyone loves Ahsoka, the actress, as Ahsoka and stuff, and I was like, I'm sorry you guys have such a hard on for her and stuff, and it's like, don't think it was good.
No, it's not like she was the worst. I just feel like she needed better direction and possibly give more of her time to the role.
Yeah. A little bit more research and stuff. Yeah. I know she said herself that she's a big fan of Ahsoka, but I mean,
maybe that's what went into it. Then maybe she was.
Maybe but like that doesn't mean you know how to play them.
Because you're such a big fan, you freak out about it, and you're like, well, how would I be if I was Ahsoka? So then you start thinking of how you would act as Ahsoka when you're supposed to think, well, how would Ahsoka act? Not how would I be as Ahsoka? Because if she is a big fan, that could be the problem. I also think that guy they put as the new magistrate at the end is going to end up being the worst possible person to run, kind of like the American Dad episode. Or history itself, where you have a person who is replacing a power vacuum, especially if they're not someone who's been formally trained in the way to constructively rule, and they don't have necessarily the tools to rule. They end up usually being a pretty awful tyrant, and sometimes worse than what they had anyway.
Yeah, it's like that one movie, the World War II movie, Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. They was trying to assassinate Hitler, but they was going to, then they had to stop because Himmler, the leader of the SS, wasn't going to be there. And it's like, why kill off a madman when they will replace him with a psychopath, Himmler and stuff. So yeah,
you gotta let them do themselves in. Which actually begs the question, which I know the new episode is dropping on Friday. I haven't watched it yet. They didn't say at the end of that episode what happened to the magistrate. I don't necessarily imagine they're going to expound on it, but the way they left it, I kind of wonder if Ahsoka didn't kill her.
Or you mean the one that the martial artist, the lady?
Yeah.
I don't know. They didn't really explain what happened to him.
No, because Ahsoka said, "Tell me who your or where your master is, or die." And they didn't show her saying where the master was, so she might have just.
And then and it's just because like Mando and the other Terminator guy, they was listening to it, and he heard the staff fall, and he's like, well, I guess you won. But we never really do we hear like Ahsoka using a lightsaber after that, like the sound where it might have her cutting her head off because she had it right up to her throat. And
I had thought the way that played out is you heard the staff drop, and the gunslinger guy was, oh, well, it sounds like your side won. And then it cuts to Ahsoka having her with the lightsabers and going, you tell me where your master is or else you die. And you just look at her face, and it doesn't look like she's going to say anything, and then it cuts away to them saying goodbye. And him being like, well, I guess I need to go back to the ship and get the child. It didn't really...
It cuts to Mando and the gunslinger fighting. Mando killing them. It never really told you what happened to him.
Because even if in later episodes, it just jumps to Ahsoka finding the big bad, who should know the name. Jumps
Thrawn.
to
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
If it just jumps to her finding Grand Admiral Thrawn,
Well, there's a lot of rumors now that there's going to be a spin-off of Ahsoka, so they'll probably really explain that. Because I do feel like the Mandalorian is setting up, especially in season 2, setting up other series for Disney Plus. There's rumors that there's going to be a Boba Fett, and what happened with him in that past episode, we found out that he is still alive, and the Mandalorian chick,
Bo-Katan, taking back her planet, and yeah, that would be pretty nifty, pretty smart on Disney's side, because I'm not sure what else they could do a live action series on other than I guess there's Marvel.
One of Luke Skywalker training Ben Solo as a kid.
Yeah, do one of him with his hot Sith wife that he has to kill, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
have Mark Hamill, because he's too old to play it, because it'd be just right after Return of the Jedi. They could do makeup and stuff, make him look young, and could be him at the Jedi Temple and stuff, training a young Ben Solo, and it's Ben Solo will ask him questions how did you learn how to use this Force technique? He's like, well, it was a long time ago. Tell him about an adventure that Luke had, learned that technique or something. And then you have Sebastian Stan, who plays the Winter Soldier in the MCU, play the young Luke Skywalker.
That'd work pretty well.
Because he actually does look like Mark Hamill when he was that age, since he already have a lot of training and fight scenes and action movies and stuff. He'd be perfect.
So they should greenlight your idea.
Yep.
Get to produce it.
And they should just hire me to do this shit.
Just keep sending them emails.
I could be wrong about this. I could be. But I'm pretty sure that I went to the same animation school that Dave Filoni did. I went online, because back then when he did it, there was no online.
Just reach out to Dave Filoni and be like, listen, I love wolves and I love fighter pilots just as much as you do.
I don't really like wolves. I'm not Josh.
But yeah, I feel like irregardless of how Ahsoka's journey continues, unless it shows her getting the information from the magistrate, like the magistrate telling her what's up and maybe adventuring with her to get revenge on the Empire for what happened to her people, if they don't actually close that chapter, it's forever going to be, well, she could have killed the magistrate and then went to her computers and got in there and figured out where all the location stuff was. Maybe found some notes or something magistrate had hidden from him, or waited around till she got a new communication.
Yeah, like I said, there's rumors of a spin-off, so if there is an actual spin-off, that probably will answer, or at least in the comic books or something, answer that.
Sounds good. I guess we should get on to the news. Now on to the news. It has been announced that there was a false rumor going around about Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. The final chapter is going to be released soon, and that's true, but there were people who were speculating that there was going to be a lot of extras in the manga that would be like a prologue chapter. But that has been disproven by the creator himself. He said he was going to do some extra character sketches and stuff like that for the fans, but not a prologue, more than he had already planned for the very end to tie up the manga.
Is it dubbed yet? English dubbed yet?
Should be. Mugen Train should be coming in January.
Last time I looked, it wasn't, but it's been a while.
2021 looks like an exciting year for a Pokemon fan. It's going to be 4 new games, although really, in my mind, the only one that sounds the most interesting would be the remake that's rumored to happen of one of the older games. That'll be their mainline game coming out this year or next year. Otherwise, it sounds like there's going to be like a new Detective Pikachu game rumored, and Pokemon Snap, some of those kind of mini game type deals. But either way, it should be
Was that a game before the movie?
Yeah.
Pikachu Detective?
Yeah, I think it was.
It just looked like a stupid movie, and like your typical cartoon adaptation movie. like Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Sonic movie. You know, like they all had the real little cartoon character. Then you get paired up with some grown man or whatever, and then
Yep.
they go off and do an adventure or something. It's like the Smalls was like that. Every
'cause
single one of them is like that.
everyone knows that cartoons were made for grown men who don't really have any interest in video games or anything else. Although I do think Detective Pikachu was with a teenage boy who's trying to find his dead father or his father's murderer, something like that.
Ryan Reynolds forced Pikachu.
Yep.
Right. I thought that was weird, but I guess you had to, because how could he be a detective and tell you, I found a clue?
I mean,
I had no desire to watch that movie whatsoever. I thought it looked stupid, and I don't know why they even made it.
Cyberpunk 2077 DLC preview has been pushed back until after the game is released in December by the developers, which, I mean, that makes sense to me. I would kind of rather people start playing the game, start skipping over the main story, and they're already like, oh, there's this DLC we'll get into.
It was supposed to release with the game?
At least the preview was, but they're pushing it back till after the game has been released.
I don't see the big deal about that. I mean, it's just, like you said, the DLC usually comes out a lot late on.
Yeah, let people digest the game a little bit, unless they don't think that the game is interesting enough for people to stay occupied. I hope not.
One thing I want to say about this, because this was actually posted in the last podcast, but there was a lot of criticism towards CD Projekt Red. Actually, I think it came out to be false, but a journalist said that they ended up having to go through crunch time or overtime, but crunch time in the game industry is working overtime without pay. For some reason, that had been getting away. All these game companies been getting away with doing that for all these years, but yeah, like a year ago, way before the pandemic ever happened, one of the head guys from CD Projekt Red said that no, we won't be doing crunch time and blah blah. And then the pandemic happened, they end up having to do it, but anytime they ever did in the past, they always paid them, their designers and stuff, the people for it.
Yeah, because I'd heard they were in Sweden. They have some pretty strict laws there about doing that kind of stuff, so they have to be compensated fairly, get overtime pay and stuff. So,
but it actually came out that it was false. It was like, no. It was like, what? And but what irritated me the most, not other than that, is YouTube owners. They were so pissed off, or not just YouTube owners, but like the game owners themselves, like Twitch people on Twitch and stuff. So was so pissed off. Like, they promised us that they wasn't going to do that. They lied to us. I'm like, first of all, it was before the pandemic. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like,
I think in that article that we had, they were saying that people don't like it too because then the game is rushed and because you're not paying your employees, so it kind of gets crappy. Yeah. So it's like people are already throwing a fit and they're like, oh, the game's going to be shit. No, you don't know that.
Well, like I said, it's not, because they are getting paid, and plus they had it where, like, if you don't work it, because they, like, hey, the reason why they don't have to pay it, because these game designers are under contract. Like, you work for 6 months on this game. After that, they don't work. But if they're not finished, well, they still have to work that. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's in the contract, so that's the only reason why it does get away with it, but it's not right. But I just want to say that.
Always good to clear the air on stuff.
Yeah, fuck YouTubers.
Speaking of another DLC, the Red Dead Redemption, well, so far at least, does not appear to be having a single-player DLC to be coming out anytime soon. Supposedly, it hasn't been confirmed by anyone at the actual studio, just potential developers, and they have gone on record to say that they're focusing on the Red Dead Online versus putting out any DLC. It's almost kind of like a Skyrim type deal.
How's a Skyrim type deal?
Well, instead of coming out with a next version of Elder Scrolls, they focus on Skyrim or Elder Scrolls Online instead of doing the next.
I think it'd be more like GTA, just not put out a new one, just keep doing the online auction for the past, decade, however long it is. It's close. I think the same studio that make those two, Red Dead and GTA.
Kind of neat news in honor of Chadwick Boseman, who passed away earlier this year. NBA star Marcel Fultz is now sporting a foot-tall tattoo of the Black Panther.
That's cool.
How painful a foot tall and how long that would take.
Yeah, but it's Chadwick Boseman. It's Black Panther. It's worth it.
Always will be.
We always will put something about Chadwick Boseman as long as there's something about him.
Yeah.
Even if there's nothing about him, we're still gonna talk about it on each podcast. Because the thing is, what some people may not realize, but he was a big, famous actor, great actor, way before he was Black Panther, way before he was in the MCU. So yeah, and he was doing a lot of great things with children's hospitals and way before.
Yeah, I still get over the drama too that YouTubers he's on drugs. No, he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's just people get too judgmental, and he had every right to keep everything going on with his personal health a secret, because obviously he'll just take things and run.
Yeah.
Guess another example of people taking things and running. When the 6th episode of the Animaniacs reboot appeared on Hulu, it was aired for a couple hours and then was taken down, and I guess in the amount it was taken down there was a lot of speculation of what was going on. And then it was put back up later that day, and it was revealed that there was a clip in the episode where Brains from Pinky and Brain little segment, Brain's phone number was displayed on an in-universe cell phone, and it was supposed to be an in-universe number. So some fans were like, we'll try to call that number. And I guess the creators didn't realize or didn't have the foresight to try to dial that number and see what popped up, because it actually is was a sex hotline number. So they had to take it out and kind of
put 555.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I like that because I watched a couple of those episodes. And one thing I did not like about it, it's a good reboot or revival, whatever you call it, but it just didn't seem as wacky and zany as the original was. That's right in the song, Animaniac, zany to the max. Yeah, it wasn't zany enough, and to me, a lot of the jokes and stuff just wasn't as clever. When they put the original on Netflix and rewatching it now as I'm much older, I got a lot of the jokes now that went right past my head or over my head as a child. Oh, okay, I get what they're saying now. That's very clever. And I don't see that in this one. And a lot of times also like in the original one, I don't think they was playing as safe back then as they are now with this new one. And so I like that they had a number to a sex hotline, because oh yeah, well maybe they are still trying, not play it safe, but they end up changing it.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem right up their alley, because wasn't a clip that a lot of people replay is when they're in a place doing dusting for prints, and Dot grabs prints and fingerprints, and
yeah, and the two Yakko and Wacko, the two boards would always lust over the hot Nos, and I was like, hello Nos. I read that they took that out because they thought that it was sexist, and she was a Nos. Well, she was walking by and they were saying hello. What's sexist about that?
They could have just had Dot saying it too, and then you would have been fine. They could have all three been like, although didn't they? Wasn't all three of them would say hello nurse at times?
No, Dot wouldn't.
Not Dot?
She would what are you guys looking at? It's what are you doing? They'd be in the middle of something and they stop to, check her out, and Dot's what are you guys doing?
Play the sexy music in the background with the whistling. See, to modernize it and keep the funny raunchiness, you could just throw Dot in there too, being like, hello nurse. I mean, it's fair game nowadays.
Mm-hmm. I still remember that one episode of the original kept messing with Michelangelo, and he's painting the 16th chapel.
Yep.
And they end up, instead of putting, is it God and Adam
Yeah.
They put God in E.T. and like, oh no, and like Michelangelo was like, oh no, His Holiness is coming, like the Pope is coming, and the Animaniac's like, no, it'll be all right, just wait. And the Pope comes in, he takes off his hood, and it's Steven Spielberg, and he's like, I like it. You know, the director of E.T.
Yeah.
and stuff, and he's actually producing and co-creator of the Animaniacs.
Well, hopefully if they play it safe with the first season, maybe if they get enough views, they can start doing a little more zany things. Although I really don't know why it's Hulu. I wouldn't have expected Hulu to be so strict on what they show, but
I don't think it's Hulu, it's Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers still
being strict.
I mean, they're all owned by the same person now, but
yeah.
You would think though, if you put something on a streaming site instead of on the regular early morning cartoon shows, you'd have a little more freedom. But
I'm surprised they even put it on Hulu, considering like that actually now owned by Disney, and Warner Brothers owns HBO, and I think Sesame Street still is on HBO. So I guess they,
must have struck a deal with them.
Yeah.
See, if Animaniacs was on HBO, be able to do it in theory.
They wait till the season 8 of it, and it just be everyone not in character and have a shitty ending like Game of Thrones.
They're kind of already doing that a little bit. If they don't have them saying hello, the writing's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Some more writing on the wall. Microsoft has received reports that some titles on their that they share between PlayStation and Microsoft, or that appear between both PlayStation and Microsoft.
Xbox.
Microsoft Xbox.
Some people might know. He's like, wait, what is she saying? Microsoft.
Get her off there. Burn the witch.
PlayStation and Xbox.
Xbox Series X and Z and
X
Y
and S.
and C.
Yeah.
Xbox Series.
No,
what
it
name?
need just be C. X, S, C. Because they all sound kind of the same.
Yep. I think we're calling it here. That's probably what the next version will be, was the C version I'm out with.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, that titles that appear on both the Xbox and the PlayStation 5. On the PlayStation 5, they're reportedly playing better, even though the Xbox is a more powerful device this time. Instead of having pretty much the same graphics, everything else, PlayStation's still beating them apparently.
Yeah, it's only reason why is because Sony put out the development kit, like they sent out PlayStations to the game studios way earlier than what Microsoft did for the Xbox, so they was able to optimize and get it running better on the PlayStation. Because I think they just got it like a month or two ago, where PlayStation sent it out back in summer. It just like PC and Mac, Android and iPhone, like, because Apple pretty much owns the hardware and the software, it's just the two are optimized for each other, so it runs better. Where like PC, you have Dell doing one thing, Intel doing another thing, Nvidia doing another thing, and then you got the software inside of it, Microsoft with Windows, and so you got 5 different companies pretty much making that one PC. With Mac, it's just that one Apple company.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. It simply optimized it better because they had much more time with it than what they did with the Xbox.
Speaking of something not in the news, but that I do wish would be optimized better, would be the Nintendo Switch Pro, or whatever you would call it. Not a Lite, but like you keep saying, that they should come out with just a Pro version. Because reading some things that Sony's been doing, especially the anime fan, otakus, who love their waifus, and Nintendo's actually being a lot more fair with that stuff and keeping the original design of characters. I would rather see Nintendo start to really have a more pro gaming, like you had always said you wanted.
Yeah, I think in the last, what posted in the last podcast was there was news that Nintendo was asking the game developers to update on games to 4K, which is one of the things we all are asking for in a Nintendo Switch Pro.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like we keep hearing one little thing. A few months go by, nothing about the Nintendo Switch Pro. Then we finally hear this one little thing. Oh, hey, see? I'm telling you, I'm right. Nintendo Switch Pro.
I mean,
Then nothing after that, and then all of a sudden, another thing.
as a person who loves Pokemon, and that's usually what makes me get a Nintendo. Every time I would like to see an open world Pokemon game, which would probably have to be done on a more powerful console.
Yeah.
And I know that they're.
Well, I mean, there's Pokemon Go. That is an open world because it's literally in the word.
No, Michael, it's outside. I don't like outside.
Well,
I can't customize myself to make myself look the way I want outside.
Well, I think it'd be cool, like with the Oculus or somewhere with virtual reality or more augmented reality. Like you put the headset and you go outside and start walking around, and you see like Pikachu peeking around the tree there at the park, or he's on the jungle gym, and then you actually have to throw it. You know, you have like a little glove that make it seem like you have, you know, a Pokeball in your hand, and you throw it, and based off how you throw and how fast you throw it, and blah blah. If you can catch it, if you can get, just like in Pokemon Go, you could have that Salcon in it, and if you get it right in that Salcon, there you go.
I think I'd heard a long time ago, Game Theory was talking about that Nintendo Switch. They were thinking that they wouldn't go necessarily into having a more like a Pro or a more heavy duty gaming console, that they would do something more like that, an augmented reality device, because they had a patent on cameras for the back of their controllers, supposedly. That was forever ago, though.
Well, that's because of the Wii motion thing.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, I know Apple is really interested in AR and stuff, and Oculus. I remember like when the Oculus Quest came out, and they was at the keynote, they were showing a bunch of players like in a laser tag or a paintball arena with a bunch of obstacles everywhere, and they was actually playing it there, and they was saying how like eventually you could go to like the park and play with your friends and stuff and play outside just like that, but and which was really cool. I'm like, oh right, that's really awesome. But then we finally get the Oculus Quest, and like now you only can stay in this like square inside in your house. You can't go outside. Actually, it would damage it if you go outside.
Why did you advertise it?
Yeah. Well, they didn't advertise it. It was just at the keynote.
Okay.
But it was like, why haven't at the keynote, which would have been like at least a year now, or if not 2 years since.
Yeah, coming up.
Because I got it when it first came out.
Yeah, it's been maybe a year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, they just put out the Oculus Quest 2. I didn't really see no reason to get it yet.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. That's all we had for news today, and we'll catch you guys next time. Until then, stay safe. Happy holiday. Wherever you are, travel safe.
Yep. And make sure you stay around. There is a special announcement at the end, so make sure you keep listening. See ya. Hey everyone, this is Louis Mihael with a special announcement. As some of you may know, I am a comic book artist, and I will be doing a Kickstarter campaign for my upcoming webcomic. It is called Geeking Around, the Webcomic. That's right, folks. I am making a webcomic based off this very podcast It will feature anime versions of myself and Gabby with stories based off a lot of what you hear on this podcast. As a Kickstarter backer, you will get early access, behind the scenes, and bonus content. You will get the ability to get my previous comics, like my Star Wars comic, Kira, a Star Wars story. So head over to Kickstarter so you can get all these awesome stuff. The link will be in the show notes. We see you there. Thank you.